Just a fair warning, light spoilers to the story of NieR Automata. Want to mention that as you're going through, if you have not played the game for yourself and you would like to, there's going to be slight spoilers in here, so keep that in mind. NieR Automata is a very special game to me. It's a game that I absolutely love, and it's honestly a game that I revere above some of the RPGs that I have played for many more years, like Kingdom Hearts. I first played NieR Automata in October of 2021, so not even 2 years ago it would have been that I was actually finishing NieR Automata. The things I thought about while playing the game was never that, oh, I hope this game gets an anime, which it did. So NieR Automata version 1.1a. This was announced back at NieR Automata's 5th anniversary in 2022. And this was, of course, announced around the same time that the Switch version of NieR Automata, the End of Yorha edition, was unveiled as well. Now, of course, both of these things very much excited me. There's no question about that. But the anime very much was something I was looking forward to more so than the Switch version, because the Switch version, I mean, sure, it was big for this game to get on the Switch, especially since it wasn't just a cloud version where it was running off of, some online server. This was the game running natively on a Switch, unlike some other games that had been given cloud versions. Like, for example, another game series from Square Enix, Kingdom Hearts. All the Kingdom Hearts games, except for Melody of Memory, are cloud versions and do not run natively on the Switch. You're streaming the game from online. But NieR Automata on the Switch is pretty much an inferior version to playing it on PlayStation 4, playing it on Xbox, playing it on PC, whether it's through Steam or through PC Game Pass. No matter what, if you play the Switch version, you are playing an inferior version of the game. NieR Automata on Switch does run at 30 FPS pretty much all the time in cutscenes or gameplay. And, of course, resolution is not as nice. But, they threw in some extra cosmetics, which was super cool to see. I think the new costumes that were added in that version are really, really nice. Don't get me wrong. But all in all, there isn't like a huge reason to play this game on Switch over playing it on PC or PlayStation or Xbox, other than you can play NieR Automata on the go now. Now, back to the anime. NieR Automata version 1.1a. The first episode just aired this last Sunday, which would be January 8th. When I first heard about this anime, I was really, really hyped about this. The promotional artwork looked fantastic. The art style overall looked really, really nice. It really did just feel like NieR Automata style put into a more like 2D, anime art style, if that makes sense. Now, when I saw that A1 Pictures was working on this anime, I was a little bit taken back, a little bit skeptical. A1 does not have the greatest track record for anime adaptations of video games. So yeah, Persona 4 The Golden, the animation, not all that great. Now, of course, they were adapting a re-release of the original Persona 4, and so they couldn't just copy the original Persona 4, the animation. It had to be different, but it just was not great, pretty much at all. And the Persona 5, the animation, just did not like the animation just didn't feel right. The flow of the story did not feel right. Just another poor game adaptation in the same series as well. However, I am not one to completely write off any anime or game simply because of the people making it. There have been times where I thought, wow, this anime is being developed by this studio. It must be this really fantastic thing that's going to be coming out, and then it's the exact opposite. Or it could be the opposite of that situation. So pretty much I was like, okay, A1 Pictures, all right? That doesn't thrill me, but hey, I mean, this is all being done, under like Square Enix and Yoko Taro, I'm assuming, so hopefully nothing's gonna go wrong here. Let's start with some things that I feel they got right in this first episode, that they kind of did to make me say, "Wow, I do have some hope in this." First thing, music. They did not just come up with some kind of generic music. They're using music straight from NieR Automata's original soundtrack, which, if it had been any other way, I probably would have been really upset. They could have just come up with some kind of generic new music to use, but they didn't, and they're using the music straight from the game, which I am 100% a fan of. The next thing is the animation and the animation style. These 2D animated sections, the way that, I expected everything to kind of look, is really nice and fluid, and 2B is animated so well. 9S is animated well. I think that the machines are animated well. The opening is super cool. I love that they're embracing the black and white aesthetic, and the music as well, I think is it just sounds really fun to listen to. It sounds like a really high energy track that also doesn't feel too high energy for Automata's atmosphere, because Automata is very much like a game that takes you from very high energy scenarios and then will put you right back down to the somber tracks and somber scenarios. And so I just thought this opening kind of fits that bill very nicely. Let's stay on the topic of animation and let's talk about this CGI. Oh, I have a lot to say about this. So let me start talking about the CGI by saying this. The 3D CGI in this is its existence is not the problem. Some people tend to find the existence of 3D CGI in anime to sometimes just be a problem, that it exists at all. And that is not my issue with the 3D CGI, is that I think it's okay for it to be here. I mean, if you look at the pods are animated in 3D, but they're shaded in a way that makes them fit next to 2B and 9S in the regular style, in the regular animation style. But when I look at the flight units in the beginning of this episode and the giant machine ship here in the beginning of the episode, it just doesn't look great, like it's just not shaded in a way, like it's not like cell shaded, kind of like these pods are. So what happens is when you have these flight units that look more realistic than like the characters in the pods do, you have a shot like this where it just doesn't mesh. It looks so off, and like nothing in this frame fits with each other. It almost makes you wonder if they just took the flight unit models right out of the game and put them in here. But I'd actually argue that these flight unit models look worse than they do in the game. And then you have this where there's a model of the flight unit that has the characters in them, and the characters are 3D, and it just looks so bad. Plastic 2B. It literally looks like a plastic 2B. I think that this would look so much better if these flight units were either just animated in the same style as the characters and all that, or if they had done some cell shading with these models, that it would look so much better. It would fit alongside the characters and the pods. And it feels like it's just this flight unit problem, and because when you see these 3D CGI machines in the beginning, they don't actually look all that bad. And then we get to Engels, which, like, he doesn't even look all that bad either. He still looks like he kind of fits a little bit. Except for the fact that he don't have no legs. Where are his legs? Why does he just have cables? The other Engels that surround 2B and 9S have legs. Why doesn't this one? Okay, let's take a break from the animation. Let's talk about story now. Now, obviously, this is an adaptation, straight adaptation of the game. The story so far is exactly the way that it is in the game, except for one small detail that did not thrill me at first. So in NieR Automata, there is this concept of machine life forms that are not hostile. Basically, you have the non-hostile machine life forms, and then you have completely pacifist machine life forms. What I call the non-hostile life forms are ones that basically they will not attack you unless you attack them. In the anime, this concept is being introduced right out the gate in the very first episode, whereas this concept was not introduced in the game until a little bit farther past this beginning section in the factory. I understand that with an anime, they have to fit the story of this game into a, pretty much shorter medium. So I understand if they maybe have to rush some concepts and bring in some concepts a little bit early, but I feel like this was just a bit too early, and here's why. In this opening section in the abandoned factory, basically 2B is fighting through this factory against many 100% hostile machine life forms that do not want her there, or 9S there, to take out this Goliath class machine, Engels. So basically what happens is you have this, what's supposed to be this very high importance mission to go take out this giant machine where you're just being attacked by machines everywhere you go. Feels more like a walk in the park kind of deal where 2B's literally just kind of strolling through the factory while talking to 9S about what's going on, and it's like it just doesn't feel right. I could understand maybe if they didn't want to fill up this episode with nothing but fighting, but it just feels like this event is being downplayed in a way, because the only time that machines show up after the whole thing with the flight unit section is the only thing I can think to call it. So after that opening section where, 2B's flying towards the factory, in between then and when they fight Engels, there's only non-hostile machines. There's no machines that are coming to try to stop 2B, and it just makes the whole event feel really lifeless. Now, perhaps I do need to cut them a little bit of slack. I mean, they're fitting something that would normally take, about 40 minutes for you to play out in the game, and they have to fit it all into a 23-minute window. So maybe I can find it in me to give them a little bit of a pass, but it still doesn't change the fact of how it feels. And to me, it just doesn't feel as lively. And there are some little changes to the flow of the story. Of course, not everything is exactly one-to-one with the game. Some shots are exactly one-to-one, but some things, some of the events are done slightly differently, but not enough for where I feel like it's so different that it, upsets me, where it's like, oh, this is nothing like the game. The events are pretty much the exact same. They're just very small details that are different. One thing that I do want to point out that I actually really did enjoy was the way they represent 9S and hacking. One really nice detail about this whole hacking sequence, actually how 9S has the sword that he uses, and also that A2 uses later on in NieR Automata during like the memory sections. So that was just a really cool detail. Like, instead of this, they could have just been like, all right, just give him his sword, but no, they actually went ahead and made it the what I call the digi sword, I guess you could call it. I don't actually quite remember if it has a real name, but just a really cool little fun detail that I did actually really enjoy. When I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the sword. That's the memory sword. All in all, I have to say that this episode, if I was to like rate this episode, like out of like 10, I think I'd give it a 6. Like, it's okay, but it's nothing that, blew me away. It didn't impress me. I do hold out hope for the rest of this series. For one thing, they don't use the flight units. too often in the game. They maybe use flight units for like 20 to 30% of the game. So I don't think that this is going to be a thing where we're going to be seeing a lot of this 3D CGI, like throughout every single episode. I think that this is very much just this was the opening sequence to NieR Automata, and the focus is on the flight units in that opening sequence. I do still think that they should have maybe done some more work to make the flight units fit in with the characters, like, for sure. And as far as the story goes, again, I'm fine with like small little details being a little bit different. It's not like I expect every single piece of dialogue or every small little detail to be exactly the same. I just really hope that we don't see the trend of characters kind of just walking around just very leisurely, or just kind of standing around doing nothing but talking the whole time. I definitely would like to see more action. That isn't to say I want everything to be all action all the time, but a lot of NieR Automata is action because, of course, it's a game. But when I said at the start of this video, when I said, I kind of hope this video does age poorly, is mostly because I really would like to see this entire, NieR Automata anime be just an absolute joy to watch start to finish. That's about all I have to say about this first episode. It's likely that I won't really talk about this anymore till maybe the whole thing is actually completely finished. I do want to give A1 the fair chance. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I'm not going to keep watching this. This is terrible just off this first episode. However, this whole thing was just for me to say, here's what I think about this first episode and just how I think this start went. Let me end this off just by saying this is all my opinion. If you enjoyed it, don't let what I'm saying stop you from enjoying this first episode. Don't attack me. I know that sounds very selfish for me to be like, oh, don't attack me over this, but seriously, this was just my personal what I thought about it. But I'm always willing to listen to other people's opinions. If everybody else besides me wants to rate it as a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, go ahead, man. This is just my personal how I felt about it, and I am very much looking forward to the rest of this. The next episode should be coming out tomorrow. Can't wait to see how it goes. Oh my goodness! Look at Tubi's little wiggly legs. Ninus's giant smile. Tubi's unenthusiastic look. They explained the Yorha types. Oh, this is fantastic. I love it. That giant black box. Oh my goodness! Explosion! Hey guys, so quick little voiceover here just to let you know some things. First of all, this video was really fun to make, for me personally. Let me know what you guys think of the voiceover kind of format. If you guys prefer that over seeing me just talk on camera, or if you prefer seeing me on camera, I don't know. Live streaming here on my YouTube channel is going to begin Monday, January 16th, if you didn't catch it on my community tab. Anyways, guys, I hope everybody's doing great. And I hope to see anybody, really, that wants to come and watch my stream on Monday. And yeah, until then, Jash out.